G'day watchers, welcome back to the channel and to this video where today I have, yes, the Seiko Orange Monster. So this is the Seiko Prospex SRP309 Orange Monster, as it is affectionately named by its fanatical following. Now some models does have the Prospex X just above the word automatic there. This model doesn't, and I think this is a slightly more desired design by most fans. I don't know exactly which ones has the X. In my reading, it seems like the newer ones have it, and maybe the original ones of the SRP309 do not, but correct me if I am wrong. So this particular model, original MSRP was 595 USD. Of course, it never really sold from retail at that price. It's somewhere below 50% of that, I think, in my research of the historical pricing of these watches. But this is no longer produced. There is a newer model, which is also more difficult to get now. So you only can get this on the secondary market. Some people are holding on to new old stock to sell at profit. And on the secondary market, it's kind of around the 400 to 450 USD mark, sometimes higher, depending on the precise condition of a used watch that you're going to get. If you look at, say, the SRP 311, the Black Orange Monster, that kind of still retails around the 250 mark. You still can get that because that is nowhere near as popular a model as this particular one. So, you know, Orange Monster, you're getting a rugged dive watch with some scary features, which is why that moniker has stuck. It is overbuilt, solid steel. It's ISO divers 200 meter, as you can see on the 6 o'clock position of the dial there. The original Orange Monster was the SKX 781, and that was from around 2001. And then in around 2012, this model came out. It has a more aggressive styling with this kind of teeth markings all around the dial, outlined in black. You know, some people have said that this resembles a lamprey, and it does, you know, the mouth of a lamprey eel, but I like a more fantastic reference. I think it looks like a Rathtar from Star Wars Force Awakens, most famously portrayed in that movie. So, you know, I like to think of it as a more fearsome monster. After this, the third generation came out in around 2014, and that's the Sbdc O23, and that one has the better movement, or arguably better movement, the 6R15. And that one took the styling a little bit more conservative as well. You know, if you were going to get a watch as audacious as this, I reckon, why don't go all the way to get the teeth? You know, this is really why I've chosen this particular one and not the older or the newer version. So, you know, over here we have, of course, the 4R36 movement. I don't have to say too much. It's the same movement as the Seiko Paddy Turtle that I've just done. 21,600 beats per hour, 24 joules with 41 power reserve. It does have hacking, and it does have day and date complication and manual winding. Now, the case, which is where most of the action in this particular model is 42.5 millimeters 316L stainless steel, close to 13.0 millimeters thick, as I've measured with my caliper. And interestingly, they've chosen to use 20 millimeter pleasingly drilled lugs here. 20 millimeter on the 42.5. I think it is interesting, and it gives it an illusion that it is larger than it is. You know, you put this next to some watches of similar diameter. This one comes across looking larger, and that may be an illusion of the short and narrower lugs. I don't know. You know, that's seems to be the feature and the effect that I get. The case is predominantly brushed, as you can see. You know, some polish in those scallops there, but it's predominantly brushed except for the interlug surface, and then it transitions to polished at the bottom there that you can see. So the case back, of course, is screw-in. You can see a fairly standard Seiko Tsunami symbol there for their divers watches. Air diver, meaning, air mixture rather than other compressed gases such as helium. So, that's the intention of this watch. And then a screw-in crown, of course, in the dive watch to give you that diver's 200-meter water rating. And that crown, just to note, is plain. There's no sign on that, as with many of the Seiko watches in this level. The dial, well, how much more can I say about that dial? Is that monster dial with the teeth is orange in this case, with the classic aggressive hour hand. It's an arrow, but it is a swept back arrow, and it's short and stubby, giving a that classic look of the monster dial. And then you get a pentagonal shaped hand for the minute marking there, completing the look of this classic watch. It has large Lumi-Bright teeth style markings. They're orange for maximum legibility of the dial, and as I understand it, orange is the color that stays most visible underwater. So hence some underwater watches and clothing, etc., are marked in orange for that purpose. The crystal is Hardlex crystal, which is pretty classic for Seikos of this range. And then the bezel is brushed circular on the top and polished on the side with those monster scallops there. And it is absolutely solid. That's not an insert. You can't change that insert out. It is a solid piece bezel in this case. Okay, and onto the bracelet. So this bracelet is, I guess, a fairly routine for this level. It is a stainless steel bracelet with solid end links. So you can see there, right? Those end links are solid, and you can see the spring bar gap there for removal of spring bar. Mixed brushed and polished surface. You can see that little surface there is polished, and the sides are polished, and you can see already it is pins to change out the bracelet. It is not a screw construction, and I haven't seen a Seiko at this level that would be screw construction. I don't know if there's in fact any such thing at this price point. The bracelet, again, ironically, it is weak. It's the I think the weakest part of the watch. It's pressed metal. That contrasts sharply with a very strong looking case, and you can see that pressed metal, I've measured that, is 0.5 millimeter thick. The thickness. You can just grab that and bend it with your bare hand. But it's functional. Once you put it together, it feels pretty strong, pretty solid. It's not going to come apart because of that triple security. And then it does have the dive extension. Okay, so same as the Paddy Turtle. Right, flick it there and then unhook, and that's your dive extension. But I've grown to like this actually. The way they've executed this is pretty neat, simple but yet effective extension there. Okay, so what have I really enjoyed about this particular piece? It's a Seiko. It's a monster. It's the orange classic one, arguably the most classically popular one. It's not the rarest one. It is actually common in production, but it does seem to have a real fanatical following. People just love this design, and it's diverse ISO 6425. It's really got a lot in it for what you may have paid originally. You have to overpay now in the secondary market, but originally, if you're paying $250, even up to $300, you're getting a lot of feature built into this. The overbuilt functionality, just really muscular, solid piece of case. That steel of this case, and the details, the biting in, that aggressive bezel, really, the lug design going into the case. I just, I can see why this grows onto people. It's known to just people buy this, maybe they don't like it at first, but it just grows on them. Now, the weaknesses. Well, it's a polarizing style. People I think even though a lot of people grow to like this, some people just don't. It's in your face. It's, you know, it's not a quiet watch by any means, and so it's not a versatile watch. You want to be careful wearing something like this to something formal. It's probably frowned on as a no-no to wear this in more formal occasions, even in offices. You know, this is probably a tad casual. You might look a bit funny if you wear this, but you know, in certain environments you probably can. You know, slightly more casual offices. And then, of course, the clasp. You know, I've complained about this already. This is the weakest part. You know, a lot of people swap this out to, for example, the Super Engineer 2 by Codestrap, and I'll review that later because, you know, the seller that I got this from did include a Super Engineer 2, which I've really enjoyed. So look out for that review in future. All right, guys. So there we go. There's my take on the Seiko Orange Monster. Let me know what you think. If you have this, tell me how you've enjoyed it or not. I hope you have enjoyed it if you forked out for this watch. You know, give us a like for this video, subscribe to keep in touch, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.